Hi everyone. Oh, I'm gonna just do that real quick. Hello everyone. Happy Monday. I am just going to give it a few minutes for Facebook's algorithms to kick in and for you all to be able to find me. I'm just gonna double check that I am in fact live in the right spot. So just give me one quick moment here. If you're here, make sure to leave me a comment, send me some hearts or some thumbs up so I know that you're finding me. Okay. Good. It looks like we are in the right spot. I'm going to turn down my volume over here. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Happy Monday. I hope you've all had a great weekend. I spent a lot of my weekend here in my craft room, which was super exciting. I managed to get some classes prepped and mailed out, and I've got some make and takes for an upcoming event with my team planned and prepared. And then I helped my husband put up our outdoor Christmas lights. So I'm starting to get into the holiday spirit, which is amazing. It's my favorite time of year. I actually have Christmas lights on my desk. I'm not sure if you can see those. They're wrapped all around my computer screens, and I've got them wedged out of the way of my camera right now so they're not interfering, but usually they cover that as well. So tonight I have two projects for you. One is pre-designed and the other I have an idea in mind, but I want your input. So I'm going to do this is going to be sort of like a choose your own adventure, and I'll need your comments to help me figure out how we're going to make this work. So I'm going to flip the camera and we're going to go over and start crafting. Okay. So don't forget, if you're here, to leave me a comment. Hi, Michelle. So we're going to use the Curvy Christmas stamp set for both sets of our projects tonight. The first card was inspired actually by one I received from a team member, but I've changed it ever so slightly to make it my own. So I'm going to show you. This is the card that we're going to make. And it is using the Curvy Christmas stamp set and coordinating dies, which are the Curvy Dies, which are right here. And we're using the piece here. So this one. We're going to use that on our card. Hi, Laura. And then I'm also using the Perfectly Plaid. This is an older set that returned, and so we're going to use this tree image, and then we're going to use the coordinating punch to create this one. So let's go ahead and start. So for this card, I've used a crumb cake base, and of course it measures 8.5 by 5.5. Pull that out here. Sorry, 8.5 by 5.5, so it is just an 8.5 by 11 sheet cut in half. You can score it. Laura, there's an echo. Thank you. Give me 1 second. Hopefully that's better. It's the problem when I turn the volume off on everything. I can't hear that. Alright, so I just used my bone folder to burnish that edge. Hopefully the echo's gone. So that bone folder, tripping over my own tongue, just gives the card a nice crisp edge, so then it lies flat. Hi, Belinda. The next layer I'm using is Real Red, and so this layer measures 4 inches by 5.25 inches, so it'll give me that nice 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And I'm going to use my Stampin' seal to attach that right to my card base. And then my next layer is Very Vanilla, and this one is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Now I'm not going to attach that just yet because we are going to stamp on this and do some sponging. So I am using the trees from the Curvy Christmas, and I'm going to use Mossy Meadow ink to stamp. So I'm just going to ink up my trees all the way across. And then you can gauge how far up you want the trees to start. I think I might actually come a little bit higher than I did in my sample. I'm going to start about here, I think. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stamp, moving the image down ever so slightly, but without re-inking. So then it just gives it that nice faded. You can see the ink gets lighter and lighter as we move down, and you can move your stamp around so they're not quite so uniform. So we've got 4 rows of trees there. So then next I'm going to pull in our pine boughs. I actually have the sentiment on the back of there. So there's our pine boughs from that same set, and I'm going to again stamp in Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to stamp off once before I stamp on my base. And then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to flip the image around to line up the ends. So we've got those lovely pine boughs on there. And then I'm going to put the Mossy Meadow to the side, and I'm going to pull in crumb cake ink. And I'm going to pull in these little dots that come in the stamp set, and we're just going to create a background in the crumb cake. And again, I'm going to start by stamping off. And then you're just going to randomly stamp all over your background. You can let the ink start to run out. And do as many or as little as you like. I think I'm good with that. And then before we attach that to the card base, I'm going to pull in a sponge dauber. And again, using crumb cake, we're going to distress the edges to give it that aged look. And when I use my daubers, I always like to dab it on my scrap paper before I start sponging. And then you just rub it along the edge of your cardstock. And you can see, just gives it that fine, distressed look along the edge. And then when I get to the corner, I like to give it a little bit more, so I like it to come up from the corners a little bit. And then I'm going to go around the rest of the sides here. So again, a little heavier in the corner, and then come back around. What I love about the sponging technique is you can make it as dramatic as you want, or you can keep it quite understated. It's really a personal preference. And no 2 pieces are going to look identical, because the amount of ink you put on is going to vary every time, from the amount on your sponge to the amount of pressure you're using. So I like that. So I'm going to pull our base back in, and I'm going to attach that to the base. So again, just my Stampin' seal. Hi, Carissa. So there's our base so far. Came together really quickly. So let's go ahead and pull in our tree. So I'm actually going to stamp on Old Olive cardstock, and I'm going to stamp in Mossy Meadow just to give it that contrast. And again, the tree is from the Perfectly Plaid stamp set, which is in the annual catalog. It's not in the mini catalog. And you know what? I'm going to say that I punched that too close to the bottom, or stamped it too close to the bottom, that my punch is not going to line up. So let me restamp that. There are two sides to every paper, so don't be afraid to make mistakes. We all do it. There we go. So now I can put my tree in there. It's going to line up perfectly. And we're going to give it a punch. And I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals to put that on my base. If you've never used Stampin' Dimensionals before, I do use them in almost every project because I love them that much. They're just little double-sided pieces of foam that give the image you're working with some pop off your base. I'm going to put that right about there. So now we're going to tie our ribbon. So I've got two different ribbons. So I have this one here. This is out of the annual catalog, and it's very soft, but it almost looks like gauze. So it's a great ribbon to use in combination with something else. Tie that bow. And it ties really, really well. Just play with your ends to get it where you want it. I think I like that. So now I'm going to use my glue dots to attach this to the base. I'm just going to stick a glue dot on the back of the bow there. Lift. And I'm going to put it right between the two bows where they join to cover that, the ends meeting there. And then I'm going to trim my edges because I don't like them starting to fray. And I'm going to go this way. There's my ends, and then I'm pulling in some real red ribbon, and this is actually part of the combo pack from the mini. It does come with a real red and an old olive ribbon. You can choose which one you like, and for this I'm actually going to use the bunny ear technique to tie this bow because it's so fine and I find it twists when you try to tie it the other way. And again, just play with your loops and your tail until you get it where you want it. I'm happy with that. So again, I'm going to use a glue dot. And I'm going to attach that to our other bow. And again, we're going to trim our tails. Super cute. But of course it's not complete without a greeting of some sort. So I'm going to pull in a scrap of crumb cake ink, or crumb cake cardstock, sorry. And from that same Curvy Christmas stamp set, I'm pulling in Thinking of You at Christmas. I'm going to pull in my block. And I'm going to stamp this in the Mossy Meadow again. And on your scrap you can stamp anywhere because we're going to use the dies to cut this out. So I am using this piece from the die set. You can see it's got the dots in there. But depending on how you position the die, it will cut with the dots on one side and straight edge on the other. So when you flip the die over, and I don't know how well the camera's going to pick this up, there is a raised edge along one side. That is where it cuts. So if you want the dots to be underneath where it's going to cut, then you want to make sure that edge is on the top. So for my greeting, I actually want the dots to be on the bottom. So I'm going to cut with the ridge along the bottom here. So I'm going to run that through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which is just here off camera, so give me one quick second. So there we have, we've got our dots along the bottom. Now I want to do the same cut on the top, follow that same curve, but I don't want the dots. So we're going to make sure that the ridge goes on the top this time. There we go. And then you can play with how you want that to line up. So I think I like that. Follow that same curve. I'm going to run this through the machine one more time. And you can see I mispositioned that, but it's okay. I like the dots top and bottom as well. I actually might like it better, but I do still want to put that banner flag tail on there. And it might be a little too long, so I'm just going to take my snips and cut there first. So when I do my banner tails, I kind of line up the middle, and then I come in from the corners to meet that line. And it gives me that nice flag edge, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, I think it's a little too long over here, so I'm going to just trim it a little bit. So up in the middle, and then in from the corners. Like so. And then I want that distressed look again, so I'm going to pull in my sponge dauber one more time with the crumb cake. And I'm just going to go around the edges here. You see there's a couple of dots there that didn't quite come out when I cut it, so just poke those out with my snips. And we have our greeting. And we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals again. And I think I like it there. So there we have it. So you can see two different looks, same card design, just depending on how you cut it out with the die, you get the two different looks. This one I actually feel looks like an old film reel. It's kind of fun. And we'll show you the card that I received that inspired this one. So I like the idea of the crumb cake with the real red and the very vanilla and the distressed edges. The sentiment idea was taken directly from her, as well as the ribbon, but I decided to change up the stamping and the focal image. But similar layout, different card idea, super fun and elegant, and any one of your friends and family would love to receive that in the mail. So that's the first project. Now on to the choose your own adventure style. So I have two colors to choose from here, and I need you to decide. Thanks, Belinda. I just did my manicure last night. So much fun. I need you to tell me whether you want me to make the next card from Shaded Spruce as a base or Cherry Cobbler as a base. I'll just give it a minute for you all to type in your thoughts. Leave me a comment, let me know which one you'd like me to use. They're both beautiful, rich colors. Michelle says shaded spruce. Belinda says cherry cobbler. Don't make me be the tiebreaker. Come on. Somebody else has to have an idea. Christy, Michelle. Sorry, Christy, Carissa, Diane. Anybody have an idea which color I should use? All right. Well, it's 50-50. So, Lisa says cherry cobbler. All right, Lisa, you broke the tie, so we're going to go with cherry cobbler. So again, it's a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock that I've cut into 8.5 by 5.5. I'm going to fold and burnish the edges. Okay, so I am going to bring in Whisper White because we're going to use that. But you need to tell me if you want this card to be monochromatic using cherry cobbler designer series paper, or if you want to switch it up using shaded spruce designer series paper. Again, drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts. Which one do you think we should use? I don't know if it's a lag. Michelle says monochromatic. All right. So we're going to go monochromatic. So we're going to use a different stamp from the stamp set, which of course I put to the side, so I'm going to pull that back in. We're going to use this image here, which are stars. And I'm going to pull out the little star here as well. Okay. And we're going to use that same die again. I have to say, this is probably the die I use the most out of this set. I just love how well it cuts. So I'm going to cut my white cardstock. So this piece of cardstock measures 5 1/4 by 3 3/4, and I know it looks like it doesn't quite fit right now, but once I cut it, we're going to be able to space it a little bit. So again, I'm going to use that same die, and it's not really going to matter where I position that ridge to cut because we're going to use both pieces. And I think I'm going to go about there. So I'm just going to run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So there's our top piece. And here's our bottom. And my stamp stuck to my plates. All right. So on the top piece here, I think I want to go this way. I realized I really didn't fold that card base very well, so let's fix that, because that will drive my OCD crazy. This is the advantage to scoring your cards first, is you don't end up with that misfolded card base. There we go. So now if I position that, we're going to have a nice little gap, and that's where our DSP is going to come in, so we're going to tuck that in behind. It's going to go like that. But we need to do some stamping. So that's where our stamp set's going to come in. And I'm going to pull my trees off my block and attach my stars instead. And I'm going to use Memento black ink for this, and I'm just going to move this piece off of there. So we're going to stamp the stars on the top piece. That we've cut. Trying to follow the curve as best as possible here. Like so. So there's our stars. And then we're going to use that same sentiment that we used on the last card, the thinking of you at Christmas, and we're going to stamp it on the bottom piece. Lisa, the card does match the nails. Totally not intentional, but it works. So then we're going to put the thinking of you at Christmas underneath here. And again, we're going to stamp in the Memento ink. And then I want to put this little star on here. I'm going to stamp that in cherry copper. Belinda, that's why you picked the red paper to match my nails. You guys are too funny. I'm going to ink up that little star. I'm going to put it on either side of our sentiment. Like so. And then we're going to start attaching. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal to attach the designer series paper right to the card base. And I am using the side with the stars because then it matches our little stars in our stamps. And my DSP measures 5 1/4 by 2 inches. We didn't need to cover the whole piece. And then we are going to pop these up using dimensionals once again. As I said on the first card, I love dimensionals and use them on everything. So we're going to use them here too. And if you notice, I'm out of the little pieces, but I use every last bit of my dimensionals. So I'm just going to cut pieces here. And we're going to make sure it's good and supported. Peel this off. What I love about this card is it really would have worked in either color. So that would be nice by itself, but we are going to, before we attach this piece, we're going to do some coloring. I'm going to pull in my cherry cobbler blends. And I'm just pulling in the dark blend. I'm not doing light and dark, as the image is really small and would be too challenging to try and do shading there. So I'm just going to fill in my stars. If you don't have Stampin' Blends, you could use a blender pen, which is a super versatile way to get a lot of colors when you're first starting out. I've used these in my lives before. It's just a glycerin based pen. It's double-sided, it doesn't matter which end you use. And you would just pick up your ink color from your ink pad, or if you had re-inkers, and then you would color your star with the ink. And when you're done with that color, you scribble on your scrap paper till it runs clear. and then it's ready to pick up your next color and move on to the next. So you could have a variety of colors at your disposal for coloring with that one blender pen. And they do come in packs of 3. And I don't know if you saw, I stuck my baby finger in the ink pad, and then when I was coloring, stuck it on the cardstock. Such is the life of a crafter, but we're going to pretend it's not there for the sake of the video. And I'm going to stick my dimensionals on there again. Peel these backs off. And we'll attach that to our base now. And there we have a second super cute and easy card. And like I said, this really would have worked in either color, or you could have done the shaded spruce in behind and matched your stars with the shaded spruce. So those are my 2 projects for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, tomorrow is our flash sale, Merry and Bright. There is a discount off many items in the annual catalog and the mini catalog. You're not going to want to miss it. It is only for 24 hours, and I expect a lot of items will go fast. So if there's something that's been on your wish list that you've been waiting to get, now is the time to shop online. Be sure to use my house code located here in the top right corner, the ZTJP3M3M, when you are shopping online with me. All qualifying orders of $49 or more before tax and shipping qualify for my deal of the week, and a new one will be announced tomorrow morning. And you also qualify for my Inkblot Rewards program. If you don't know what that is, be sure to check out my website at www.InkspireMe.com/rewards, and all the details are there. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic night.